Hey y'all, it's Maggie here. So I wanted to discuss kind of a hot topic today, controversial depending on who you're asking, and that would be gluten-free diets. I personally know people who have done really well on gluten-free diets, including one of my best friends. She has fixed a lot of uncomfortable health symptoms after starting to eat a gluten-free diet back, I think, when we were in high school, or first year of college or something like that. So it's been a few years now, and she's doing great. And she actually convinced me to try a gluten-free diet recently, which I did, and I found that it helped a lot of things that were bothering me. Most importantly was really crazy pain, bloating, and feeling ill after eating, which is not normal, by the way. You should not feel sick to your stomach after eating, especially if you are just eating like a few bites of food and then bam, looking like you're in your second trimester. That's not normal. And I was not a fan of feeling that way. And so talking with her, she was like, well, I feel a lot better on a gluten-free diet, and I mentioned something about having been looking into them, and she's like, you should do it, like, give it a try. You have nothing to lose. So I did, and I was kind of blown away by how much better I felt in terms of being able to eat a meal and still look like me, not like, wow, you got pregnant sometimes between when dinner was served and when we all got up. And I found that when I was eating gluten, when I would let gluten back into my diet for one meal, or because I was having a beer with a friend, I would get like all the symptoms came back. I was hugely bloated, had a ton of pain, like really sharp stabbing pains in my stomach, and felt really sick. So something was up, obviously. But being the cynic and skeptic that I am, I'm obviously still doing research and trying to figure out if non-celiac gluten sensitivity is a real thing. In case you don't know, or you're not nerdy like me and spending hours on PubMed, I'll explain really quick. Gluten is a protein, specifically gliadin, or gliadin. I get all tongue twisted. I'm just gonna plead being a foreigner or something on that one because I cannot say it. But gluten is a protein in wheat that irritates the stomachs of a lot of people, reportedly. The ones that are medically diagnosed with celiac disease, which I believe is less than 1% of the total U.S. population that's diagnosed celiac, but they have, it's an autoimmune disease, so their body attacks itself when they eat those proteins. So real bad news. And then non-celiac gluten sensitivity means someone has a poor reaction when they eat gluten. They don't tolerate it, kind of the way you would think of lactose intolerance. Someone can't have dairy because their body does not digest it. So that's the same idea, but with gluten in the case of non-celiac gluten sensitivity. However, there is a good bit of debate between medical researchers in the field of nutrition over whether non-celiac gluten sensitivity is a real thing, or if the sensitivity experienced to gluten and the improvements that are experienced when you take gluten out of the diet are actually caused by gluten, or if they're caused by something else that is being removed from the diet with gluten, or greatly minimized, enough so that improvement can be seen. And quite honestly, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm still researching. It does not make sense to me in terms of epidemiology and studies of cultures and like what traditional diets are, that wheat would be something that so many people can't tolerate. It seems like the gluten-free diet is increasing out of proportion to the number of people who are actually confirmed celiacs, obviously, but even far out of proportion to people who claim to have non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So that's part of what makes me skeptical. Also, I just have a hard time believing that many people cannot tolerate gluten when it's been a staple in so many cultures' diets for so long, and a staple in cultures where they are, you know, statistically much, much healthier than our Western culture in the US and in Western Europe is shown to be. So that's interesting to me. But at the same time, I can't deny my own experiences where I felt so much better taking gluten now. And I can't necessarily say that the experiences of others are false. I mean, like, I've seen my friend, like, she feels much better because she took gluten out of her diet. So the question kind of that I'm mulling over these days is, how nerdy am I that this is taking up space in my head? Like, I'm wondering, is gluten a thing that is causing people stomach pain when they eat, and why is the gluten-free diet so effective at relieving these symptoms? Is it gluten or is it something else? Like, this is the kind of thing I think about when I'm falling asleep at night. Sexy, right? But some people have suggested that FODMAPs, which is a type of carbohydrate, is actually what causes a lot of the discomfort people feel that they associate with gluten. And FODMAP stands for fermentable oligo, di, and monosaccharides and polyols, which are types of sugars that are found in foods, and they're in a lot of things. So if you want to remove all these from your diet, you're gonna be eating like lettuce and air. So have fun with that. Not actually, they have like diets, like I have pulled up right here, the Stanford Medical Center low FODMAP diet, but it's pretty stringent, so there's not a lot you can eat because FODMAPs are, it includes fructose, lactose, fructans, galactans, and polyols. So all kinds of artificial sweeteners are out for you. Stone fruits like avocados, cherries, peaches, those are gone. Fructose is fruit, obviously, so you're really minimizing fruit / eliminating it. Honey, high fructose corn syrup in processed sweetened foods, and all that. Lactose is in dairy, so you're not having dairy. Fructans is in garlic, onions, wheat, so you're removing at least the fructans if you're doing a gluten-free diet. And then there's galactans, which are sugars found in legumes, which is like beans, lentils, edamame, that kind of thing. So where am I going with all this? I guess is what you're probably thinking. And quite frankly, I don't know. So I would love to hear the opinions that you guys have about whether you've tried a gluten-free diet, what you've experienced, and if you're reading up on the research and stuff, what you think, whether non-celiac gluten sensitivity is a real thing that can and should be treated with a gluten-free diet, or if the symptoms of non-celiac gluten sensitivity are actually caused by something else and how that should be treated. I do know that one thing I am very convinced of from my research is that gut health, the health of your intestines in terms of your gut's lining and permeability, because it's supposed to be able to keep food in your intestines and not let it like escape through the walls of your intestines just into your bloodstream and stuff. So having a strong barrier so that your intestines can do to food what they're supposed to do, which is digest it and use it while it's in your intestines, is really important, as well as gut health in terms of the bacteria in your gut. That's a whole topic for another day, but you have a lot of different bacteria in your gut microbiome, and the different proportions of bacteria as well as different strains of bacteria can have a huge impact on your health, not just in terms of how your stomach feels or, you know, getting an illness from a pathogen, but in terms of how your body works with, you know, carbohydrate and lipid metabolism, with different gene expressions, all kinds of crazy things. So gut health is really cool. If you're nerdy and you have some time on your hands, I highly recommend you research it. But in the meantime, I would suggest, commenting below to start to let me know your thoughts on gluten-free diets, whether you've tried one, and all that jazz. And then also just being aware, having a little more awareness of how you respond to different foods. That was how I found out that I was, that I couldn't have dairy, the whole lactose intolerance thing. No one else in my family had ever been diagnosed lactose intolerant or with a dairy allergy, and I started paying attention to how my body reacted when I would have dairy products and realized, not working. So be aware. You know your body better than anyone else does. And comment below. Join the discussion. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye, y'all.